Mini Wargamer Dave here from miniwargaming.com. Welcome, Wargamers, to the Shrine of Chaos. Today we have a special guest. We have Steven from Vanguard Tactics. Now, Steven from Vanguard Tactics is what you would call a competitive 40k channel. He is on the fun side of competitive, and he's been doing this for a good amount of time now. And he has a unique business model in that he teaches people how to be better players, better competitive players. And he has a claim, and his claim is learn from the number one, or is it best, Blood Angels player you were last year. Which one was it?
Yeah, so I was the number one ITC ranked Blood Angel player.
Okay, all right. So I'm excited about that because being a Blood Angels player, I can certainly learn a lot from you. And I am excited to jump into that just for a moment. And I do need to say, because the title of, or the subject of today's discussion is clarifying or breaking the stigma of competitive play, and how there's a lot of negativity associated with that. And I think it'd be good for yourself to help to clarify that, because being a competitive player, you would be able to speak much better about that than I could. And so, yeah. So how's it going? How's it going, first off?
Well, first of all, Dave, thanks so much for having me on. It's a pleasure. Honestly, it's a real privilege.
Oh, you're very welcome. Glad to have you.
But yeah, all good at my end. Obviously, we've got some lockdown challenges here. But apart from that, it's been a real roller coaster this year. Vanguard Tactics is 18 months old, so it's quite fresh, really.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of COVID's been really interesting for the business. It's actually really helped me go full time now with Vanguard Tactics, which is incredible, and leave kind of my older career, which I never thought I'd ever leave behind. As I used to be a professional nutritionist for bodybuilders, actors, and anybody that really wanted to change the way that their sort of relationship was with their body, whether they wanted to improve more muscle. So yeah, I've kind of really, yeah, it's like a 180 really, from fitness to gaming. Yeah.
So, okay, so just talking about that for a moment, what made you decide to make that change to go and pursue content creation / coaching?
Happiness.
Okay.
Quite simply, happiness. Yep. My mental health.
Yep.
And don't get me wrong, I love bodybuilding as a sport myself. And I could talk for hours about bodybuilding, but I used to be a international competitive bodybuilder. I traveled around the world competing in bodybuilding and other sports, but it just became too overwhelming, and I really needed something to break away from, training, coaching. Absolutely everything used to be about training, and I thought I really got back to my roots of, being a kid, picking up Warhammer again. And actually channels like yourself, Dave, really helped me kind of grasp the basics back in when I first started learning 40k, which is an 8th edition again. So
awesome.
Yeah, and actually then fell in love with competitive play, but I found it to be an interesting take on sport and sportsmanship and what was fair and fair play. And I thought, you know what, I need to make content on this, because as somebody that has spent their entire life playing volleyball, hockey, international level, I understand what it takes to be a sportsman. And I felt there was something missing from 40k, and I thought, how can I make an impact and how can I make a change? And that's kind of what led me to Vanguard Tactics. And I think the only thing that's really stayed true amongst those two aspects is teaching. I was teaching people to understand more about the basics of nutrition and training. And when I was younger, I trained to be a teacher. So that was kind of what my education is education itself. So I thought, why don't I do exactly the same, but for 40k? And I built the Academy, which is our online course where essentially you can learn everything from the fundamentals to become a critical thinker about the game, so that I can really help people become the best general at the tabletop through playing in the right way, by being the best general, by using the best strategies, the best combinations in such a way that you can really enjoy the army that you're using, really get that sense of, I love this character, I want to see him do well, I'm going to build my army around him to make sure he can be efficient and effective, rather than I'm going to win at all costs and I'll cheat wherever I can. And it's not about that. It's about how do we get the most out of our models, and really how do we get the most out of our hobby, which we love so much.
So what would you say is what's the number one stigma of competitive players, competitive play?
I think the stigma that I sometimes get as a competitive player is that competitive players have to win at all costs.
Okay.
They're whack.
Right.
They'll do anything to win. And it's not about that. It's really not about that. For me anyway, that's not my personal take on competitive play. And that's what I want to change, yeah.
So what should competitive play be then? If you could create the definition in Urban Dictionary, competitive Warhammer 40K play, what would you say should be the definition of it?
So I think that's a great question. And for me, it's the 3 E's. If we're talking about competitive play in Warhammer, the 3 E's, it needs to be effective, it needs to be efficient, and it needs to be enjoyable. So you could break that down into whatever. You need to have an effective and efficient list, performing well in the environment that we play in. So it could be in a certain tournament, whether it's the WTC, the LVO, SoCal. You need to have a list that can go through each of those stages of challenge that you're going to be up against. But you need to be able to enjoy the whole process as well, because enjoying whatever you do will mean that you can endure the tough times. If you enjoy the army, you'll be able to kind of eat crap for a while, I suppose, or whatever it might be, to make sure that we can, get through those times when the codex might not be super strong or whatever it might be. So enjoyment is an absolute must. And I think competitive, for me, really makes us bring our best to the table. So I'm not just going to let my opponent win. I'm not just going to roll over. I'm going to try for every single minute that I have to bring my A game, to really make sure that I'm using all the best tactics and strategies that I can, to make sure that you get the best experience by giving you the best challenge and the best mental challenge possible.
It's interesting because as you know, our channel, we're not competitive. We don't focus on that. We play the game. We have fun with the game. We're casual gamers, casual/narrative. So when we play the games, there's definitely a competitive element to it, but we don't focus on competitive play. So our lists aren't the most they're not the most efficient. Are they effective? That's relative to what constitutes being effective. If our goal is to make a fun bat rep that people will enjoy, then that it's relative to what we're trying to do, right? Efficient? Absolutely not. There's definitely more efficient lists that we could be fielding and trying out. And enjoyment? Absolutely. There's the enjoyment. So it's interesting because I want to focus on the efficiency for a second here, because sometimes we get those comments that are, oh, you should have brought this. You should have brought this unit. You should have brought more of these, less of those. There's always that the efficiency type of comments that I think if it was a competitive channel, yes, it would make sense to make those comments. But since it's not, and that's not the overall goal, where do you think the line is between max efficiency and... I'm trying to think of how to phrase this question, because some armies have, like, you can max efficient the armies and it would make them... a lot of people would find the list boring because it's like a duplication of multiple units and I see what I'm fighting. Like, what's the line? Like, what do you think is, what do you think should be done there?
Yeah, I think the first thing that, the first point is when we talk about what one man's or lady's efficiency might be completely different to somebody else's. And I always think about it in terms of a list aspect. So if we just focus on the list, there's 3 points that justify why you might take something. And that is their initial points cost. It might be the way that they play the mission in interaction with how they score on the primary or the secondary missions. And then finally, the third part of that triad is actually their rules. So you've got those 3 things that we need to try and balance at any one time to understand why are we taking that one unit. Okay, so if I use this in a dieting setting, you could go out and enjoy, a burger, for example, burger and fries once a week, but that doesn't mean you have a bad diet. It just means you've gone out and you've enjoyed a burger and chips because that's your preference, you enjoy it, and it keeps your sanity through, maybe eating some of the chicken in salad meals for, if that's primarily what your diet's made up of. Who knows? What I'm trying to say is you can't just look at one thing in isolation. You have to look at the entire composition of the list of how it functions. So I run Dante in my Blood Angel list. Okay, so I think Dante, I love the model. I've created my own conversion. He's sick. He's Dante. He's the chapter master. He's going in the list regardless of good or bad. He's in. Okay, he makes the squad because he's Dante. He picks the team. He's in. I will then make my army around Dante. So somebody could say to me, oh, but a chapter master with a T for Terror is better. And I'm like, no, because everybody else does that. I don't want to be boring, and I want to bring Dante because he's cool. So that's my personal preference and opinion, by the way. If you love a T for Terror chapter master, that's up to you. But I will then build the rest of my army to ensure that I can score on the primary, I can score on the secondaries, and I've got enough efficiency in my list to be able to tackle a knight. I've got enough efficiencies in my list to tackle 20 Necron warriors so they don't stand back up. And that's how you need to justify. And that's something that I really get across to my students is all about critically thinking. So when they send me a list to review, I make sure that they've gone through and justified every single warlord trait, relic, gun, weapon loadout to make sure they've actually thought about their list rather than just gone on the internet and copied somebody else's, or because they don't understand the why. And the why is so important when we do anything. Or if we want to master anything, it's all about understanding the why and the how, not just the what. And I think that's something that, I get that all the time. Steve, why don't you take this in your list? And sometimes it's, well, I can't afford those models right now. I can't afford 18 plasma inceptors in every single army. My channel's only 18 months old. So there's only so many models I can build and paint in 18 months. And sometimes that's my answer. But yeah, I feel your pain in terms of the comments from the... But again, you've got to look at it with a much wider scope and go, why has Steve took Dante? What does he offer that maybe a chapter master doesn't? Because the answer's in there somewhere if you can look deep enough.
That's, you know what? That's interesting because that to me says that it is efficient, but it's based around the why. And the why is I'm bringing this guy because he's cool. So ultimately it's rule of cool. Is that accurate?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't do a whole army rule of cool, but because it might not synergize. But I think there's certainly the 80-20 principle, right?
Okay.
If we apply the 80-20 principle, you can afford 20% of rule of cool if the rest of your army's well efficient to make that 20% work and function well.
Right.
So I've got a theme in idea, I've got a theme in mind. That's what I'm going with. I probably I think Mephiston's cool as well, but I can't probably take both. I can't justify it, so that I have to draw the line somewhere. Yeah.
Right. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to draw comparisons here and things that we would do. Okay, so here's my process. So when I build a list, I go downstairs and I look at the shelf of minis, and sometimes there's new stuff is come in and it's painted nice, and that's actually my number one. It's like, ooh, newly painted models. I want to feel them because they're shiny and pretty. So I want to feel them first, and then other stuff that I think is cool. When it comes to efficiencies, I'm not a good enough player to know the efficiencies. I'm just not, right? I don't focus on it, and I wouldn't know what the best possible combination is. I just think, hey, that's cool. Dante, I love bringing him with Sanguinary Guard. It's like, hey, that's cool because they got the Heirs of Ascalon rule, right, where they can actually benefit from that. And so I'm like, okay, I'll bring them because it's all cool. Bring them together, one blob, close combat attack, Khorne's happy. So that's what I think, right? And if it works out, it works out. If it doesn't work out, then I have no idea. And so that's how I go into it. And it's
okay. Here's my challenge to you, then, Dave.
Okay.
We're playing Blood Angels, okay? You want to take some Death Company.
Yes.
And bear in mind, I used to get so much stick for taking Death Company. They used to be like the internet trolls used to be like, Steve, but Death Company are rubbish. They die to a stiff breeze, and I'm like, well, don't stand in the wind then. Put them somewhere else. They used to be my best reply. But okay, how many Death Company do you think it takes to kill a knight? And what weapons would you give them? And how many of them? Go on, give me your best guess. How many Death Company you take into a knife fight?
Into a night fight.
Yeah.
Let's see. Like, are we talking regular Death Company or Primaris Death Company?
Oh, regular with a jump pack.
Regular with jump pack. Okay, jump pack. That's important.
Yeah, because I mean, if you're not taking a jump pack, you're not a Blood Angel, so you got to take a jump pack.
I'd feel good with 10, I guess. I mean, that's a lot of attacks with 10, and then a couple Thunderhammers in there.
How many Thunderhammers?
2?
Is 2 enough?
I'd know. It doesn't feel like it's enough. It would have to be like 4.
Is it?
I don't know. I don't know the math.
Okay. 4 might just about do it, but what you're going to take just to make sure you definitely do it?
8?
5.
Oh, 5. Okay.
Yeah, 5. So 4 is on the cusp. 5, I'll chuck another one in for safety. Yeah, you know, that unit can go in and do its job. You know, but you're probably not going to give it a hand flamer. You're probably not going to give it a plasma pistol or anything like that. You're just going to go 5 boys hammers, 5 boys chainswords. Let's go, lads. We're going in. And I think that's where, like, we're still taking the same units, but our mindset on, I wanted to create a unit to do a task for me, and that's simply it. If I wanted Sanguinary Guard to go in and clear loads of Necron Warriors, I probably want 10 of those, and I'll just give them swords. So what I'm never going to do, though, and this really kind of grinds my gears, is when I see this and they go, I'm playing against so-and-so this weekend, what should I take? No, you take the list, you take every single week, because actually, sometimes I think, I used to get this when I used to go to my local club, people used to tailor against me. Steve's bringing Eldar, or Steve's bringing this, I'm going to take that. That is the most win-at-all-cost attitude I've ever heard for casual. I just don't get it. So my advice is you want to build a list so it has all this flexibility and balance in it. So no matter who you play at your local club, you can have a really good game with the army that you know and love and that you have repetitions with. You know, Bruce Lee said he doesn't fear a man that, you know, has done 10,000 different kicks. He fears a man that's done one kick 1,000 times. And that's really... That skill with an army, knowing exactly what you can throw 10 Death Company in with 5 hammers in, how many units can you send that into to do a job for you? So then when you get to the table, you go, that's not a good decision for me. That is a fight I'm not going to win, right? But that fight, I'm winning, I'm going over there instead. And that's where I think a good general can direct his troops rather than thinking, okay, I'm going to try and catch you out here if you make a mistake, or I'm not going to let you have that go back because if I do, you'll win the game. No, I'm chilled, I'm cool. I let people have go backs, you know, because I want you to bring your best against me, Dave. And I'm probably even help you and say, look, Dave, don't do that, because no, it's not going to end well for you. By all means, carry on, but you could do this instead, and you'll be like, oh, okay, cheers, Steve. And I'd do that in a tournament, providing that you're a cool guy and you're not trying to catch me out either. So that's kind of where I like to draw the line of, you know, essentially we're getting into efficiencies now, aren't we? We're thinking about what does it take to do something reliably and consistently? Because if any good scientist really focuses on a test that's repeatable, and, you know, something that you can then assess in retest.
I really, really like that mindset. I think it's a fantastic attitude, whether you're a competitive player or not. It's a good gamer attitude to have. It's, you know, let's enjoy this game. And you know what? There is something to be said also about bringing your best tactics to the table, because when you defeat me, you've worked for it. And you know you've defeated an opponent that was a worthy adversary. You know, like you had to try. And it wasn't just, okay, you walked all over me. It was a leaf blower or you know, I was poor tactics. It was just, yes, it's a puzzle that you're putting together throughout the entire game. There's back and forth. And then when you get the victory, that was a well-earned victory. And I love those games. Those games are my favorite, because they go back and forth. There is that satisfaction of the puzzle at the beginning. How am I going to do this? How am I going to grab this objective? How can these guys survive? How am I going to prevent this from happening? Like, there's all of that, and that's the meat of the game, and I love that. I love that, and I absolutely agree with the takebacks and all that. It's like, if you were not thinking about a million things and you remembered that, you would have done it. It's like an automatic thing. You would have done it, right? So just go ahead and do it. I forgot my psychic phase. Oh, okay. Well, you would have done it. Like, I don't want to win because you forgot your psychic phase. That's just silly. Yeah.
Like, I think there's on the topic of go backs, I think it's an interesting one, because I think at some point you have to draw a line, obviously. And I think I look at it as, is what you're trying to do going to, or could I have done anything differently that may have changed the decision-making process at that time?
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, if you get to the end of your psychic phase and you say, oh, Steve, I forgot to cast this power. Do you mind if I go back? Well, what if I denied one of your other powers? Do you see what I mean? Or what if I had to spend a CP to deny a power that I wanted to deny because I thought you were out of powers? Or maybe I used a stratagem to deny it. Well, I've actually made a fair few decisions in between you doing that and me. So I think, that's just one example. But again, it comes down to, could I or have I done anything that is impacted now that decision, or would that be, and I think there becomes levels of what's significant, really, right? So, like you said, if you don't have, let's say you're playing Tau, you've got no denies ability anyway, and your opponent goes, right, I'm going for my movement phase, and they just shoot one unit, and then they go, oh, I forgot my psychic phase. Yeah, go back and do it, no problem. Go and do it. It doesn't matter. Or, maybe you're talking about, what you're doing at the weekend, and you forgot to clear that one charge, and, fine, do it. It's not a problem if you've just got to the combat stage. As long as nothing could have else happened, it's cool. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think the biggest, for me anyway, the biggest grace attitude is the entire movement phase, because you basically have this phase where your opponent doesn't really interact with it. In rare circumstances they can, but mostly it's just you moving your stuff. And it's like, oh man, that would have been way better over there. This literally doesn't affect anything except for maybe a future turn. So like that, I think that's, for me, that's like, you can literally do an infinite amount of moves there and it makes no difference to me. I think that's the easiest one.
Yeah. And I'll always, like, let's say, I was using Chaos Knights yesterday on stream, and you see me, I don't know if people will notice this when they watch me play, and I stream every week our games. It's me and Joe. We have a great time when we're playing, but we go over why we do everything. But I did something yesterday. I mark my knights with a dice, so I can then move my knight 12 inches and see his line of sights, and then if I don't like it, I can put him back to where those dice were, and then I can move him in a different direction.
Right.
Because I'm not gaining any additional movement then by doing that.
Right.
I'm not like, oh, I'm just going to move him forward, but then move him back and then move him again, and all of a sudden I've moved him 18 inches or something.
Yeah.
I've marked where he is. That's cool. Joe's happy with that. We've got our intent laid out.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important as well. So when people watch my battle reports sometimes, they'll be like, oh, but Steve, you did this, and actually that was out of phase. But me and Joe are cool. We have that understanding. And I always would say to somebody, prior to the game, I'd be like, Dave, how do you want to play this game? And if you tell me, Steve, I want to play to the letter of the law, exactly as we play it, no go backs, I'll be like, Dave, that's fine. But I will hold you to that same set of standards that you're going to hold me to, because we have a mutual respect for one another.
Mm-hmm.
If you said to me, Steve, I'm pretty cool, I'll play how you want, we'll play with intent, do a couple of go backs as long as it's not significant. Yeah, cool. We'll play that, Dave. I'm happy with that. Yeah. So again, having that conversation prior is really important. I'll always say to my opponent, look, my 3 things are, number 1, how do you like to play? Number 2, what's your intent with this game? So if you tell me that you want to have just a really wicked fun time, great, that's cool. I'm happy with that. If I'll say, I just want the best general to win. I'm not saying I want the biggest cheat to win or the biggest win at all cost player to win. I want the best general to win. I want you to bring your A game. I want you to challenge me up here, and I want to throw down. I want a tight, close game that's both got us there thinking, I don't know what I'm going to do it because you've got me in a right mess. I want that sort of stimulus, I play this game for a reason, and it's to escape, it's for escapism. I want to leave my phone to one side. I want to be fully immersed in this mental battle that you and I are having. And the models just represent this game in this puzzle, like you said there, Dave, of what we're actually trying to achieve here. And then finally, the last thing I'll say to my opponent is, look, I want this game to come to a natural end. So I want both of us to get to turn 5. I want to play a full game. I didn't turn up to this tournament to play 2 turns. I want 5 of them. I want you to have 5. I want me to have 5. I want a full game in. Can we do that? Cool. If so, perfect. Yeah.
That, I think that's actually a very good point, to kind of lay out the expectation before you start. Again, and I think that helps to really mitigate confrontation. Really, it's like, well, that's the expectation. We letter of the law. As much as it hurts, that's what we agree to. And so there isn't that. Well, come on, just give me this. But that would really affect the outcome. But man, so there isn't any of that. Which that's probably the worst thing I would say in a game, is when there's a disagreement about how those situations come up with like gotcha moments. I have the stratagem that heck, even I forgot about, that I didn't remember until now, and that's completely thwarting your plans, or whatever it might be, right? Those types of moments are what take away from the game. They take away from the escapism.
Yeah, I think I've had interesting thoughts about a gotcha moment stratagem, okay? Because I've got a few, and don't get me wrong, they're powerful, they're great, and that's why they're in the game. I think let's take the most classic one I think most people know of is Auspex Scan, right?
The 12-inch.
So you drop down within 12, you get shot at,
Yep.
right? It's bad. It hurts real hard, especially if you're Gene Stealer Cole, any army like that.
Yeah.
Now, if I tell you I have it, there kind of becomes, I can tell you I have it, right? Just off my own back, but then it's kind of pointless me even having it in the first place. Now, if you ask me, Steve, do you have anything that can shoot me when I come down from Deep Strike, and I say no, and then later on I try and play Auspex Scan,
That's different. Yeah.
I'm one big cheat, right?
Yeah, for
I'm
sure.
not playing how the game should be intended.
Right.
If you ask me, Steve, what's your maximum threat range with that unit with Death Company, I'll say, okay, I can pre-game move up to 12 inches, 9 inches away from you. Then, if I'm within this aura of my banner, I can move 14 inches, and then I can charge, and I'll get a +1 to that. So my maximum threat range is 14 plus 12. So that's 26, and I get a +1. So if you stay outside of 27.1 inches from me, I cannot charge you. Okay? If I forget my +1, or if I forget that extra 2-inch move I get from my relic, and you ask me and I say, it's 12-inch move, 12-inch charge, and I say 24, and you're saying to me, cool, I'm 24.1 away from you, then you've got full rights to go and get a TO and say, Steve, you told me it was this. You are not playing, and I need to take that on the chin because you asked me a direct question and I did not answer it fully. I lied.
Right.
And if I forgot my own rules, then fall on me for not knowing my own rules going to a tournament.
Yeah.
That's your number one code of conduct to yourself. Everybody else there is you turn up and you know your army, because if you don't, essentially, like, don't be that guy that borrows his mate's army, rocks up because it's the best thing since sliced bread, and you get there and you're slow playing your opponent because you don't know what a clue what it's done. So you're better off playing the army you know than the army you don't, I think.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. So it's a good practice that we have here at Mini Wargaming when we fight amongst each other before we start filming is we have our army set up on the side tables, and we tell each other what's in the list. We tell each other the war gear, the strong stuff. We tell each other the access to the stratagems and things to watch out for to mitigate any gotcha moments. And so we're both on the same page. And there's also there's a pre-game power level determining factor. It's like, okay, to the best of our ability, if we know the army. If it's a brand new army and we don't know the power level, that's different. But like if we're, it's like, okay, I can tell automatically that this army will win turn 1, whether I go first or second. We should probably change the army because it's not going to be a game. And so we have this understanding first. And sometimes, like, for the most part, it works out. There's the occasion when it doesn't work out because we don't know the army, or it could be a different agreement beforehand. It's like, you know, I kind of feel like playing competitive today. Let's just bash each other as hard as we can, and it might only turn out being 2 turns. You just never know. And like, okay, all right. So, but it's rare. It's rare when there's a bad feeling because we've put it all on the table beforehand.
Yeah, I had this. The Necron Codex was new, obviously, recently, and the Blood Angels came out. And I said to Joe, who's I do my stream with, oh, by the way, Dave, he's a big fanboy of yours. So at No Retreat Legends, you're gonna have to watch out for him, okay?
Joe, you said?
Yeah, Joe Coles. Yeah, you're gonna have to watch out for him. Yeah.
Okay.
He's a big fanboy of yours. So anyway,
Joe's a good person who likes people.
Yeah, that's it. So he was using his Necrons. I'm using my Blood Angels, and Joe deploys his army pretty much on the line with the Necrons. Okay.
Okay.
We roll off. I go first. My Death Company go in. I make some other charges, and I pretty much tabled him turn 1, to the point where we could see where the game was going. He didn't have much left.
Right.
And everybody in the chat was like, Joe, you deployed badly, blah-de-blah-de-blah. That was terrible. Why would you ever deploy like that? And my argument is, Joe made a decision in deployment. And that was, if he stays right the way back with his army, then the thing is, what would happen is that I would have the table and I would just score the points. Like, he's giving me the entire table. Okay, I can go on all the objectives, do all my actions, no pressure, no threat. So that's the problem. He loses straight away if he deploys on the back line. If he deploys forward, he's not giving me the board anymore, and now I'm having to make a decision. Do I send 1 unit in? Do I send 2 units in? Do I send my entire army in? Or does it make me go, oh, hang on a minute, I'm not going to send anything in? Because if I send 1 unit in, it hits something, it kills it, then I lose it. It's a bad trade. If I send a couple of units in, 1 unit goes in, kills something, the second unit gets interrupted on it, dies. So I've got one choice, and it was to go all in. So Joe essentially took my decision-making process down to a 10% chance of me making the correct decision. And because I have the experience with my army, I made the right decision, or it could have been luck, either one. So there was a very finite chance that I actually made that play, and it worked out in my favor. Now, it doesn't mean Joe actually played badly, because he was making a 90% gamble that I make the wrong choice.
Right.
And in some bad matchups, you just have to do that.
Right.
You have to apply. You know, it's like if you were ever facing off against a grizzly bear. Do you just run away? Do you try on a tree? Do you stand up and make yourself as big as you possibly can? I don't know. You've got to try something. So you've just got to hope that. And again, an inexperienced player would have probably made the wrong decision. Joe would have won the game with the Necrons, and nobody would have been thinking that, you know, it was a terrible game or anything, or Joe deployed badly, because he would have made the correct decision. But as you said, sometimes an army in a certain situation on a certain mission will just do absolute wonders. And that's just unfortunately how the game will go sometimes. But I think the great thing about a competitive tournament is actually there's already that leveler. I'm bringing my best. You know, I'm bringing my best. I know you're bringing mine, etc. But for the battle reports, I do exactly the same. I never want an army that's going to trash another instantly. You know, we never want that experience to happen, because we want tight, close games.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than a one-sided battle that just lasts a turn or two.
No.
Yeah. Are you only 40K? Do you cover Age of Sigmar at all?
So we did dabble with Age of Sigmar. I haven't produced any content, but I did dabble with some of the... I actually picked up a Lumineth army. Joe picked up some Chaos. And my favorite game, though, is More Time.
Really?
Yeah. Incredible game. So I really want to start producing some... I'm developing some really cool looking tables at the moment. So next year I can do some More Time battle reports, just for like a one-off, or, you know, maybe, I don't know, Halloween, I'll do a More Time battle report just to spruce it up a little bit, do something a bit different.
Yeah, I did a campaign with Mordheim. We're talking about the same with the GW's like old campaign based fantasy
Yep.
miniatures,
Like you
skirmish game.
die, you lose your leg, crazy stuff.
Yes. Yeah, I love that. I love that stuff. It's like old school Crusade. It's which is fantastic, by the way. I don't know if you had ever had a chance to do Crusade Campaign.
I haven't. It's that big section of rules I always have to skip through in my codex. So yeah.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I love it. It's you know, I recently ran a poll on Facebook or the YouTube community asking people how do they like playing 40K, like you know, match play, narrative play, open play. Narrative play and match play were matched. They tied, which was very surprising. I thought it would be mostly match play, and then second was narrative, but it tied. I'm like, man. And I did it in multiple places too. I did it on Facebook and Twitter, and same thing. It was the numbers were very similar, very close to 50-50, and that's exciting because then it's people get the story element that they can get into the hobby easier. I want to say easier because there's a system in place for them to get into it easier, and they can start small. And so here's a question then that leads to what I'm thinking here. How would you recommend people get into the game if they want to focus on competitive play?
I mean, there's a great academy out there, and it's called the Vanguard Tactics Academy, obviously, and you could learn everything you want from A to B of the game. But okay, so what do I focus on in that? And that is the fundamentals of the game. So you want to learn. Don't worry about what units you're taking. Don't worry about the models. Don't worry about anything like that. You need to understand the movement phase, and you need to practice with different models. And I think when you're learning to begin with, you want to take an army that is just the same everywhere. So just take 500 points of intercessors. Understand the movement phase. Understand that one gun, so you only have to worry about one profile. But what you're mastering is the movement phase, moving through terrain, move blocking, consolidating, piling in, charging, how to hold objectives, unit coherency, stringing models out between one objective to another, how to zone out a table. All these things are so important because you don't want to worry about the stratagems, the warlord traits, the relics, the different weapon profiles. You just want to focus on the actual phases of the game. Once you've mastered that, introduce a vehicle. Once you've mastered that, introduce a monster, introduce a bike, a swarm, whatever. You know, there's so many different keywords. I think there's 9 different keywords off the top of my head. Introduce each of those and understand how they interact with the game, other models, terrain, and ultimately then you're going to really start to build up a knowledge base of the game system itself, because the game system underpins everything else. Once you understand the game system and you understand the missions, go through each mission sequentially, try out different secondaries, when they work, when they don't, and keep notes. You know, like if you want to get good at anything, you need to really master that and actually think about, again, become a critical thinker about why is it that happened. And once you know that, you can then look at the game and go, cool, what army do I want to play? Go to Games Workshop, go have a look at all the beautiful models, go and pick read some, I don't know, White Dwarf magazines and, any army showcases that really, scream out to you, or read a few novels and think, oh, I really love the lore of Dante. Cool, Blood Angels are for me then, because you've mastered the movement phase. Like when I see 40K, I just see the Matrix. I don't see models necessarily now. I just see profiles, abilities. You can give me any army you want. I'll probably do okay with it because it's just...
Is that what you see? That's what you just said?
I just see the Matrix, yeah.
Yeah. And so if that's the case, then what draws you to an army?
For me, it's models.
It's like how they look. It's the aesthetic of the models?
Yeah. It's the aesthetic. I mean, I used to compete, like I said, in bodybuilding, so sanguinary guard with shredded six-packs all day long. Yeah. I mean, I'd be tempted to start playing Age of Sigmar just to collect Slanesh now for that. What's his name? I don't know his name, but he looks incredible.
Sigvold?
Something like that.
Yeah.
What a model. But so yeah, there's models that really appeal to me. Also, I love combat. You'll rarely see me play with a shooting army.
Interesting.
I believe that the game is won and lost in the movement phase, and the charge, pile-in, and consolidations is just another movement phase. So for me, I get 2 movement phases, and for me, combat is exactly where it's at. So Harlequins, Bloody Rose Sisters, Blood Angels. My Eldar army is literally 30 Banshees. Anything, like any army that's out there, I'll try and do combat. Tau, I'll take Farsight and I'll just make him do everything for me. Whatever, I don't know. Combat is for me the one. So I can't wait for Chaos to get a new codex whenever that comes.
Hey, you and I both, brother. Like that's what I'm waiting for.
You know, I want some new models for Khorne Berserkers. That's what I want, and I want to take a Khorne army, like a real hard hitting Khorne army,
like World Eaters.
Could get on board with that.
Yeah.
What else is cool? So yeah, you can kind of see where I'm going. Chainswords, jump packs, I'm in. Yeah.
So, I saw in the comments someone was congratulating you on becoming an official GW tester.
Yes.
Yeah. Is that an acknowledgement of the comment that I just read to you, or is that an acknowledgement of the fact that you are a GW tester?
No. I'm a playtester for Games Workshop, so that was an absolute honor to become, obviously to have that opportunity, and it's been an absolute incredible experience working with the guys. So yeah, it's been a real eye opener as well.
Is that something you're? I mean, obviously you're talking about it, so you're able to talk about it, and it kind of sounds like it's past tense now. Is that a thing that it's over, or
no? It's ongoing.
Oh, it's ongoing. That's fantastic. So if a World Eaters Codex was coming out, you'd be the first to know about it.
Maybe.
Okay. All right.
I can neither confirm or deny. Yeah. So I can tell you that I'm a playtester, but I can't tell you anything more than that, unfortunately.
Right. No, that makes sense.
But it's obviously.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay.
It's 40k. There's a chance for anything to happen, right?
Right. That's what I would want most. I actually want that more than a new Chaos Space Marines Codex. Is a World Eaters specific Codex, not Codex supplement, its own Codex.
Like Thousand Sons or Death Guard.
Exactly. Yeah, with new models, new rules, unique stratagems, like everything to go with what an army should be as a standalone army, with a new Angron Demon Primarch model. Like,
of course,
all of that would be a part of it. Like that'd be just a dream come true. Oh my goodness. Yeah. And in fact, I would take that. I did a poll recently. What would you rather have? New Primarch Angron model or new Berserker models? And I said, well, Angron, because that doesn't exist, right? Like Berserker, they already exist. So let's have the new model, and then we can convert up the others how we wish.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm with you. I agree.
So what's your favorite points level to play?
Oh, it's 2000.
2000, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's the only points value I've ever played in 9th edition. Yeah.
So I'm curious about something. You had your channel for 18 months. How long have you been playing Warhammer?
So my first ever tournament was the last ever tournament of 7th edition. I rocked up to Warhammer World with my it was their kind of expo they did, Warhammer Fest.
Mm-hmm.
I rocked up with an Eldar CAD combined arms detachment, and I had a real mix match of army like stuff. And I turned up, and everyone was no, just like a bit of this, a bit of that, like you see from White Dwarf, right?
Okay, yeah.
And everyone's like, "Where's your Wraith Knights? Where's your triple Wraith Knights?" I'm like, "I don't know. I haven't got one. Can't afford one of them." And anyway, so I actually did really well in my first ever tournament. I went 3-2. I think I finished 17th. I was like, that'll do. And then 8th edition literally landed that same day it was announced at Warhammer Fest. So literally 8th edition was my birth, I suppose, into competitive 40k. I found out that there was an England team when I went to that first ever event, and I made it my ambition to make the England team. And currently I'm in the top 16 at the moment to get selected, so I'm happy about that. And then when I found out that Games Workshop had playtesters, I was like, I want to be a playtester. That sounds awesome. So yeah, again, huge highlight for me when I got asked to become one. So yeah,
Awesome.
8th edition really is my birth of 40k. I used to play when I was a kid, but I didn't know what I was doing.
So what made you want to become a competitive player and a coach of the game?
I've got a very for the last 10 years I've been bodybuilding, and when you're a bodybuilder, the only person you compete against is yourself.
Mm-hmm.
No matter who you turn up against, you only compete against yourself, because you don't know who's going to turn up.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't do anything to change your opponent. All you can do is literally work on yourself to improve. And 40k was like, I had that exact same mindset when I started playing 40k. So I just wanted to become the best I possibly could. I then started making content because I found it as a good expression of, a good little break from my other work as well. And I thought I'll give it a try. And I really wanted to tackle, I actually had a really bad experience at an event, and I made a video regarding it. I touched on it slightly, and then that really kicked off the channel in terms of sportsmanship. And then later on, I played the same individual again, and I had another terrible experience. And I made the video, which was called My Opponent and His Yellow Card. And I really tackled I wanted to tackle people's opinions on what sportsmanship should look like in the game of 40k, and how we as a community, and we need to be organizing events to ensure that it doesn't happen. This kind of experience that I went through, and how we can tackle some of these kind of bad actors, as it were, in the community. And actually, since then, it kind of spiraled. I was interviewed on, I think, on pretty much every podcast about it. And we really started to make a change, which is awesome. And the game is getting better and better. It really is. And I think I would encourage absolutely everybody to, if they've ever considered going to a tournament, just go with an open mind. The communities are amazing. You're going to meet some incredible people. Some of my best friends now are people that I've played at events. And I cannot wait to get back to playing competitively again at tournaments. I just can't wait.
So, okay, so that's an interesting thing. From the sounds of it, this negative experience was like actually helped to drive the channel at first, and ultimately turned out to be you turned it around to be a good thing.
Yeah,
because there was it sounded like there was a lot of emotion behind the experience and a drive to make it better because of that.
Yeah, I think we've all had difficult times in our lives, and I had a situation with my previous business with my fitness and nutrition. I had a terrible experience with it. Lost lots of money, friendships were broken, business went sour, stuff like that. So 40k was a really good release for me, but the best thing that actually ever happened to me was my previous business going through what it did, because it allowed me to find 40k. And every single bad thing that ever happens to you, you've got two choices. You either eat it and you let it completely overwhelm you, or you focus on the silver lining, because there is one. No matter what the bad experience is, there is a silver lining in there somewhere. When I could have looked at it and thought, right, yeah, I've lost £30,000. I've had to move back in with my parents, and lots of things that really could have led to some really bad mental health problems for me. But I thought, instead of focusing on that, I'm going to start something fun, something fresh. And I built Vanguard Tactics with literally, I think I had 80 quid in my bank account, and I bought a logo, and I went from there. I built my own website. I got up at 5 a.m. I started on the website building, the YouTube, before I started my kind of nutrition business work. So I worked from 5 until 9. I walked to my Starbucks, and I just worked on it every single day to get it to where I wanted it to be. And I think if you focus on the positives that you can make of something, no matter how bad that experience is, you can really do something good with it.
I agree. Yeah, 100% I agree. And congratulations on what you've done, what you've been able to accomplish with your business and your channel. And if you guys are watching, whether you're watching live right now or watching after the fact, there's a couple links that I've included in the posts here, whether you're watching on Twitch, YouTube, or Facebook. One is to Vanguard Tactics YouTube channel, and the other one is to their website, to your website, where you can sign up for your coaching to be a better player. And so that's all available in the links below. Steve, we're going to change gears really quick here and do a chaos comment bomb because it's tradition.
Okay.
And this is, for those who are watching right now, this is something that that Steven has chosen. So if you're watching this, Mr. Liam, you'll know who sent this love your way. And I agreed, of course, because, you're a good person. And when I say Liam, I'm talking about Liam Dempsey. And I'm just posting a bunch of links here in the chat. This is, if you haven't participated in a Chaos Comment Bomb before, this is how you do it. You click on that link that I provided there and you leave a comment on this YouTube video. And it could be something like, Dave and Steven say hi from the Shrine of Chaos. Or you could say, play more Death Guard because that's a better choice than the other ones that you've suggested recently. Or maybe it's continue doing what you're doing and spend more time with Winters because it's cold over here and somehow he's named Winters but he's a warm guy. Whatever you want to leave, it doesn't matter. The comment doesn't matter. All it matters is he knows that he's been Chaos Comment Bombed by the Shrine of Chaos. That's the only thing that matters. And I'm just going to click on this to see the comments. Excellent. This is very good, seeing the newest comments first. So, actually, I got to give Liam credit here. If it wasn't for Liam, I never would have met you, Steven. And there's a number of other wargamers, YouTubing wargamers in the community that I've met since, and it's because of Liam. So thank you for that. And this is just sending some love Liam's way.
Yeah, Liam is a super helpful, just absolute legend. So give him all the love you can. Love it. Can I, Dave? Can I do one plug for your listeners?
Absolutely. Plug away.
So on Sunday, I am doing a free masterclass for 40k, and it's called The 5 Pillars of Becoming a Great 40k Player. It's on Sunday at 4 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, which I think is 11 a.m. your time.
Yeah, 5 hours.
Yeah, on Sunday. It's completely free, and we have a super chat enabled, and anybody that uses a super chat to ask a question at the end, all the monies gets proceeded to Movember. So for the entire month of February, all money I raise via YouTube will be going to Movember to support those people that are having a tough time at the moment. And so it's kind of like an educational, but also charitable cause, really. And I'm going to be covering the 5 key things that I think make a great 40k player. I'll give you a bit of a sneak peek, but we're going to be covering how to identify your own skill level and understand the areas that you need to improve on personally, how to write a critical and competitive army list, how to generate a game plan, maximizing every phase of the game, and how to control the tempo and the flow of the game as well. So they're kind of my 5 pillars that I'm going to do a 1 to 2 hour masterclass on Sunday, and it's free to sign up and all the links are on my website. So if you're interested in that, I'd love you to join. It'd be epic.
Perfect. Well, thanks again, Steven, for joining us today in the Shrine of Chaos. And thank you guys for leaving your comments and participating as well. Great to have you. You're welcome back anytime, especially being a Blood Angels player. And not playing Tau, that also helps. And I don't know if you play Tau. I'm just kidding there. You could probably give me tips on how to beat them. Oh, wait, right now they're easy to beat because they basically don't have close combat. Okay, got it. Play Blood Angels against Tau and you automatically win.
Yep.
So, stay tuned next week for the Shrine of Chaos, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And thank you again, Steven.
Thank you so much.